Okay, 3 at-large positions for Forsyth County. If you don't know where Forsyth is, it is home to a place like Kernersville. If you've never been to downtown Kernersville, Main Street, you're missing out. Love it. Clemens, and of course Winston-Salem. And so home to Wake Forest University, and home to a place where 3 through 8th graders, get this, 69% were not proficient in math for the 2021 school year, and 62% of 3 and 8th graders were not proficient in reading during the same time. Sarah, we backed you early on, and we did so because you were the only one that we talked to that had a plan to reverse the learning loss. Would you tell us a little bit about what your plan is?
Yeah, sure. And so I think when you look at those numbers, the school system has been slow in getting more data out, because this is for 2021. I think as more data comes out, it's just going to be worse. And so I don't think this is a one-time thing. And so what I can do as a school board member is, first, the most important thing is say things on the record that are true, and not just be a vote. I hear a lot, oh, you're only one vote. What are you really going to do? And I say to that, never underestimate my powers of persuasion, because if we're not even having the conversations about what we can do, and getting conservative parents to show up at the meetings, then our other leaders are not going to take note. So what I can do is help rally the troops to tell our leaders this is unacceptable, and not let them they hope we will go away. They're hoping that we'll just lose steam and we'll go away. And we can't let that happen. And I'm going to remind them every meeting that one thing I make sure I'm very precise in my language. I never say it's COVID that caused learning loss. Last time I checked, viruses can't cause learning loss. It's the failed COVID policies. And so I think the most important thing to reverse what the damage that's been done is hold people accountable that caused the damage in the first place, and not let them forget. Already people are saying, oh, well, we need to move on. Yes, it was very unfortunate. Well, the kids who lost a lot of their lost a lot of time in school, that will be very difficult for them to make up, especially kids whose parents can't afford tutors. They haven't moved on yet.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, especially now that we're paying $5 in gas and $5 for a gallon of milk, there's very few parents that can actually afford tutoring. And the one thing I love about your platform, I mean, you've got the double threat to the left, and that is accountability and transparency. Those are the two things that they fear. And what they're running on is just a bunch of social garbage. And so let's back it up a little bit more and tell us what made you decide to run, because your primary was very contentious. I think there's like a civil war in the GOP now everywhere. What made you just want to do this, to sign up for this job?
So I'm a nurse, and I worked for a year during COVID. I resigned in 2021, but I kind of was shocked at how what I was seeing in front of me, especially in North Carolina, the numbers, the hospitalizations, and then what we were being told, for example, at school board meetings for justifications for closing schools, was not consistent. And there was nobody standing up and saying, whoa, wait a second, guys, like these are not factual statements that are being made. And so we have a gentleman in Forsyth County that had advised the school board. His name is Dr. Christopher Olin. I'm not afraid to call him out. Speaking of, accountability, some would say he's the Dr. Fauci of Forsyth County, but he's the head of infectious disease at Wake Forest Baptist Hospital. And he was the only one to advise the school board on their policies from a medical perspective. Unfortunately, most of his advice was incorrect, and wasn't really ever supported with facts when he advised the school board. And just to show you how he really probably didn't believe what he was saying, Well, he was advising the school board to vote to keep the public schools closed. His children were in private school, attending school. So that kind of hypocrisy really grinds my gears. And if I had been up there, I would have asked him, aren't your kids in school? But it almost felt like when you look at, and again, I understand this is the South. People don't like to be impolite. Even at the beginning of our school board meetings, the board chair says, now remember everybody, we need to be kind. And I'm all in favor of being polite, if you're writing a thank you note, but this is about our kids and you're talking to mama bears. Okay. We know you don't go around a mama bear with her cubs because she'll maul you. The time for politeness is over. When you hurt my kids, it's not about politeness anymore. It's about accountability and just telling the truth.
Well, Sarah, you're not very bright because you don't understand that words are violence.
But I thought silence was violence too, so I get confused.
I know. Well, I know it's really bad. I mean, and this is, it's hard to know with the left, but when you're on our side of the aisle, you just have to keep speaking truth, and whoever gets mad, oh well, go get a shrink next. Yeah, because I'm not moving, right? I'm going to keep going. And so the truth is very important to you. Accountability, transparency. I mean, these are all things that if that were the esprit de corps of the Forsyth School Board, we wouldn't be seeing numbers like this. You have some of the worst numbers in the state. I mean, this is abysmal. I looked at the foster kids. 89% of foster kids in your county, 89% are not proficient in math at 3rd and 8th grade. These are the kids, by the way, you guys, they cannot, if they tried, advocate or use school choice. They couldn't advocate for their own tutor. They're not able to do that. These are the kids that we really need to be looking out for. These are the less of all of us that we really need to be fighting for. And not only are their schools not safe, they're not performing. And so what we're seeing is a focus on social emotional learning. As I've told you guys before, it's mandated from the top down at the state level, all 12 subjects. Valuable instruction time is being dedicated to this bull crap that's pushing not only CRT, but this transgender grooming stuff and inappropriate sexual conversations. Sarah, our superintendent, our state superintendent, really has a love affair with this social emotional learning at a time where we need our schools to function more than ever. What are you going to do to push back against not only the superintendent, but to make sure that the state stays out of the district insofar as mandating these curriculums that do not work?
So I have a couple ideas. And I think first we have to understand the root cause of our woes, which is we're addicted to federal and state dollars. It's a mistake to think that we have local control, because the more dollars they put in, the more standards we have to follow. And of course, the board is held hostage at meetings. Administrators will say, well, if you don't vote yes for this program, we're not going to get this funding. And what people don't understand is the return on investment is not always great. Again, I'm not saying like, let's not take any money. I'm saying let's be very careful, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. And we should explore all the strings that are attached, because again, there are strings attached. And so we need to understand that those dollars are pinning us in the corner, and parents will have less control the more we take. The other thing is something that the left is good at that we're not so great as conservatives, because we're individualists, is we need to work together and unify our resources. So I plan on, with my fellow conservative board members, reaching out to other counties, conservative board members like Burke County, for example. I know a board member on their school board who just got elected last year. We need to bring a coalition together, and we need to talk to our lawmakers. Mark Robinson's there ready to support us, the lieutenant governor. Your organization, for example, is there to advise us, the John Long County. I mean, there are resources, but I think we're all just trying to reinvent the wheel, and we're not working smart. because the left is organized. Let me tell you, they're not grassroots, they're AstroTurf. It's fake grassroots. They have money, massive amounts of money from all kinds of lobbying groups. And then, so speaking of money, this is why I think the root of why we have social emotional learning and the surveys, and Sloan and I have talked about this panorama. I started to do some investigation because I honestly, what made me initially suspicious was how little the school was paying for this social emotional learning curriculum. I thought $14 a kid, no one's making any money off of that. Not the type of money that those companies make. And so what I found is that our school system is signing away the rights to our children's data.
Yes.
And parents don't know it. And so I think that should be a bipartisan issue. And once we get the source of revenue out of, once we say, okay, sure, we'll consider having social emotional learning, but we're making the curriculums here locally. And thank you, but no thanks for the surveys. We won't be doing that. All of our parents will be opting out, then they'll have it will take away a lot of the incentive for that to happen.
Well, I mean, I'm going to push back a little bit on that. We meaning the taxpayers, spent federal dollars on that, on over $500 million actually, was what the grant was for this year for social emotional learning. And people say, that's the feds. Yeah, if you think you can get away with not paying federal taxes, give it a whirl. It's not going to work. But also, I want to tell you guys that it actually is costing quite a bit each school district. So I'm going to put up on the screen a story that we wrote last year. Tanisha Shaw is an SEL coordinator from Forsyth County who makes $75,000 a year. So these SEL coordinators are not actually in the school or in the classroom. They're not doing all the hard work of the teachers. They're actually getting paid almost as much as two teachers, really. And she says that the fight against CRT is a white movement. And, this is some of her stuff. I'm moving into Twitter. That might be very dangerous for me. She blocked me. I mean, can you blame her? Can you blame her for blocking me, for being honest? So yeah, I mean, so that's just one example. But if I were to show you her tweets, they would be very, very, angrily tweeting about and going off on parents. So this is someone who clearly does not like parents, should not be in the classroom, making $75K. That's a part of SEL here, Sarah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And so I'm referring to the $14 that I cited, and I think it's 11 for middle schoolers. We were just spending on the specific curricula, and where I think that the Castle and Panorama are such a scourge is they are an incredibly powerful lobby. And so if you're going to fight these guys, I want to fight people that I can, and when I say fight, of course, I mean metaphorically. Yeah. I want to deal with people on a local level so that we can all face each other and have a discussion about it. And so this young woman who I would love for her to come in front of the school board and tell us what she's doing to help our children. So I just want to get as many special interests out as possible.
Right. She's here to teach truth. Okay. We see what her truth is. That parents who go to school board meetings are white supremacists. Okay.
Domestic terrorists.
That's right. All right. And so this is a woman that's making $75K. Were that it were for me to make $75K, let me tell you, they hate Black women, they hate, etc. Okay. Someone with that sort of mindset who is obsessed with that. And by the way, this is by no means exhaustive. Ms. Shaw is one of several coordinators for SEL that we pointed out. But again, this is what we need are teachers to be able to have direct instruction time with their students to get them up to speed on reading and math. We are not having that. We are not seeing that. So you mentioned something about special interest. Do you have any ideas about how you guys will keep special interest out of the classroom once you're on the board?
So I think the best disinfectant is sunlight. And so I'm gonna look, I left a job that I love, being a nurse. So now I have all the time in the world, and I'm gonna be Nancy Drew. I've already filed FOIAs. I'm gonna be in those schools. I'm gonna turn over every stone. I'm gonna say, hey, administrators, what would you say you do here? What's your job? I want to know, because I think that once we expose.
You don't want any friends, do you?
No, I'm not, I'm not here to make friends. I don't mind having nobody show up at my tea party or my dinner party, because if this means that people will start to shun me, so be it. I think a lot of people will be glad that somebody is telling them the truth. Now, maybe not the people that are on Twitter, maybe not the people that come after you guys, but those people don't like me anyway, so.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not that, I'm not, my dance card isn't full, if you will. So I totally get it. I'm just pulling up right here a picture of Nancy Drew. Hold on. I'm going to try to put this up for everybody. Because you just said something that really resonated with me, because if I had to guess somebody that you look like, can y'all see this? You're a dead ringer for Nancy Drew. I mean, this is your calling. Let's be honest. If we were to select someone to be a Nancy Drew, Sarah, it would be you. It would be you.
Thank you. And I really just like to understand when people say, oh, well, we can't do this. This is what I hear a lot. Oh, we can't do this. We have to do it this way because. There's so many excuses, and nobody asks why. They tried to tell parents over and over again that these were laws that were passed. Meanwhile, the counties next door that, actually have some sense are, you know what, you can take your toolkit, Mandy Cohen and Roy Cooper, and go pound sand, because we have no desire. Thank you for the recommendations. Thank you. We'll just put those in the trash can. But our school board acted like this was a decree coming down from His Royal Highness himself. And, so I guess my question is, either you're a figurehead as a school board member, or you have a say and you have some power. But I actually think the most powerful thing you can do is unite people, because public opinion is a powerful thing when it's channeled correctly.
Yes. Well, you mentioned something, and this is absolutely true, where people are kicking the can down the road. And one of the biggest gripes, and the thing that infuriates me as well at Republican leaders, but one of the biggest gripes with the base is that there's a lot of that, well, we can't do this, it'll just get vetoed. But one of the things that we wanted to do with our PAC here is to support MAGA candidates going onto the school board, because that MAGA, once Trump came into office, I mean, he showed everyone who had been sitting on their thumbs for years, oh, well, that's just the way we do it around here. Oh, you can't do that. He embarrassed more people in the Republican Party, elected officials, than any single left tactic has ever done, by showing, yes, it can be done. Yes, we are going to be transparent. Yes, we are going to, oh, you're going to text me something like that or write me something. I'm just going to put you on blast. That openness, that never being afraid to engage in battle and doing things the common sense way, that's what made him get the most votes as president, as anyone who has ever ran for office. That's why, by the way, that's why he had more minority voters than anyone else has ever pulled in the Republican Party. And it will continue to do that. And you know why? Because people are not, they're tired of voting identity politics. In other words, vote for me, I'm a woman. Vote for me, I'm Black. Vote for me, I'm Christian. Vote for me. They're tired of that. They're tired of saying, okay, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote straight D or R. Both parties are tired of the bull crap. They're going to be voting for people that can get things done. They're voting for somebody to do a job, if you will. And we know if you were to go and apply for a job and you sat across from the employer and said, well, I'm going to be able to turn these scores around. Here's how I'm going to do it. Then you darn well better do it or you'll be fired. And that is how we like to make our endorsements. That is why we like you so much. And the way that you've got these ideas is because you're like, look, the schools are in the toilet, hire me, I'm going to do the job. And that's what I loved about Trump. That's what we're bringing to the school board. That's what I believe makes our movement so fresh, if done correctly, that you're going to get on the school board and you're not going to accept excuses from any of the school board members or from the superintendent or any other teachers.
Yeah. And I hope that people hold me accountable and the rest of us, because again, this is how I can help convince my fellow board members that it might be a good idea for them to do what the people want. Because unfortunately, what we saw with the whole mask thing, there were several conservative board members who voted to keep masks on the kids until we got close to the election. And then all of a sudden they started to get a little bit scared, and wouldn't you know, those masks went away. And so, I mean, this whole attitude of you're only one vote, you can only do so much, that's a losing mentality. And I hope people understand that that's showing weakness. And,
well, yeah.
If I get on the board and I don't do the things that I want to do, when I get on the board and I don't do, if I don't do the things that I'm saying right now, I fully expect to be voted out. Because we need to hold our leaders accountable. But I think what you were saying earlier, what made President Trump so effective and yet so hated by many because he was effective, was his authenticity. And, people may laugh, oh, politics. People are sick of identity politics. They're sick of things. The reason people get behind somebody is they want to trust somebody, but it's not about the person who's running. It's a trust of saying this person will represent my interests. And so at the end of the day, I don't care if you're purple or a woman or whatever. If you're not doing the things that you need to do to keep my kid safe and getting a good education, I don't care who you are.
Yeah. 69%. Again, I want to reiterate this. Let's just say 70% of 3rd and 8th graders as of last school year were not proficient in math. That's going to take just getting down to business and stripping out all the unnecessary programming. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed, audience, I don't think we can afford any more of the bells and whistles and lighting our money on fire. We certainly can't afford that. So, Sarah, I want to
spend so much money.
Yeah, exactly. I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for running
so much
and putting yourself on the ballot, guys. We do owe the people who are stepping up and stepping out to run a debt of gratitude, because last time I checked, we're not having 30 people running for a seat, right? It's only the people who know that they can make a difference and they're willing to put their ideas out there and ignore a lot of this nonsense that's going on out there now.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if you guys want to find out more about me, my website, sarahAbsher.com.
Can you spell that, please?
Yes, SARAHABSHER.com.
Okay, well, thank you very much and have a good evening, everyone.